You are standing inside a crowded train car in the summer of 1943. Only weeks ago, you were fighting in North Africa under the command of Erwin Rommel, part of what you believed was one of the most powerful armies in the world. Now, you are a prisoner of war, exhausted, uncertain about the future, and traveling through a country you have only heard about through propaganda. Outside the train window, something feels wrong. The night should be dark. In Germany, blackout regulations have kept cities in near total darkness since the war began. But here, the countryside glows. Farmhouses shine with electric light. Roads are illuminated by street lamps. Entire towns sparkle in the distance like constellations scattered across the land. For a German soldier raised in wartime Europe, the sight feels almost impossible. Everything you had been told about America suddenly begins to collapse. For years, Nazi propaganda described the United States as weak, divided, and decadent, a country of luxury and laziness that could never survive a real war. But mile after mile of railway track reveals a very different reality. Freight trains loaded with raw materials thunder past in the opposite direction. Highways are crowded with civilian trucks and automobiles. Industrial complexes appear on the horizon, larger than entire districts in Germany. What these prisoners were witnessing was something the world had never seen before. By 1944, the United States had transformed its entire economy into what President Franklin Roosevelt called the arsenal of democracy. Factories that once built cars were now producing tanks and aircraft. Shipyards launched Liberty ships at a pace so fast it seemed unreal. Entire industrial plants rose from empty fields in just months, powered by an economy that seemed to grow stronger the longer the war continued. For German soldiers coming from a Europe struggling with shortages of steel, fuel, and food, the scale of American production was almost beyond comprehension, and the surprises did not stop there. As the train rolled deeper into the American countryside, prisoners began noticing something else: the farms. Across the Midwest, enormous fields stretched all the way to the horizon. Massive machines harvested wheat and corn at incredible speeds. A single combine harvester could do the work of dozens of laborers. Towering grain elevators stood beside railway lines, storing harvests large enough to feed entire cities. Back in Europe, ration cards and food shortages had become part of daily life. Yet here, food seemed abundant beyond imagination. But perhaps the most unexpected discovery came from the American people themselves. Many prisoners were transported from the camps to help with farm labor or factory work. Instead of being treated with hatred, they were often treated with a surprising level of respect. Farmers spoke with them, some shared meals, others simply treated them like workers temporarily caught on the wrong side of a war. For men raised under an ideology built on absolute hostility toward enemies, this was deeply confusing. Inside the prison camps, the contradictions continued. Hundreds of thousands of Axis prisoners were held in camps across the United States during the war. These camps were guarded and surrounded by barbed wire, but many included electric lighting, medical clinics, libraries, and organized education programs. Prisoners attended English classes. They read newspapers. Some even took correspondence courses from American universities. The war was still raging across Europe and the Pacific, but inside the United States, life continued to function with remarkable stability, and everywhere the same pattern appeared: factories expanding, farms producing unimaginable quantities of food, cities glowing with electricity even during wartime. Slowly, observation by observation, the illusion began to break. German prisoners started to realize that this war was not simply being fought on battlefields. It was being decided by production, logistics, and industrial power on a scale Germany could never hope to match. By the time the war ended in 1945, many of those prisoners returned to a devastated Germany, carrying memories they could never forget. They had seen a nation where democratic institutions continued operating even during war, where factories produced weapons in overwhelming numbers, and where farms generated enough food to feed both soldiers and civilians. The experience changed the way many of them understood the world. What they had witnessed was not just military strength, it was the power of an entire society mobilized for war. And for many German soldiers, the journey through America revealed a truth that no propaganda could hide. The outcome of the war had never been decided by ideology alone. It had been decided by industry, by production, and by a nation capable of building the arsenal that would ultimately shape the modern world.